Hi everybody, it's Cindy from Ask Nurse Cindy. Look who I grabbed here in Houston at Low Carb Houston, the ever famous, wonderful Dr. Eric Westman, who, as you guys know, you hear me talk about him all the time. You hear me say, page 4, Dr. Westman, go to Dr. Westman, go to Adapt Your Life. And I grabbed him.
Well, thanks for grabbing me. So what do you think about the meeting here?
The meeting has been great.
It's been fantastic.
I think that when you invest the time and the money to come to something like this, if you can, it changes how you think about things. It adds nuances. My very first conference like this, so 2.5 years ago, I looked down at my daughter and her husband, and Debbie was there, and I said, I can never go back to what I used to eat because it's so much more than weight loss. Yeah. Weight loss is great.
Yeah, I think that one of the big themes this time was cholesterol and heart disease and things like that, and that's been reassuring for me and many of my patients to know that if the cholesterol goes up a little bit, the way you look at it's really important. So that was Dave Feldman and Ira Cummins.
And Dr. Scherer talked about it.
Dr. Brett Scherer.
Yep. Did you already say David Diamond?
And David Diamond as well.
I think that really probably was our most, well, maybe because Dr. Nadir Ali is a cardiologist. We just figured, okay, we just figured it out.
Well, so another theme is that, of course, you know, I'm big into is keeping it simple.
Yes.
Focusing on the carbs rather than the food quality, not stressing if you can't do it perfectly with everything else, but watching the carbs. And even today, a lot of people were still worried or messing up the net carbs versus total carbs. And actually, there were some new products that were actually kind of high in total carbs.
Yes, they were like 20 or 23 or something.
The net carbs were low, though.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So be careful with those things, which is why page 4, you guys, page 4, tell them what page 4 is, because it's what you teach your patients in your clinic.
Well, it's page 4 of my handout.
I know.
There's more.
Okay, so it's more than that, and it's a nice little booklet. But
the essence of it
we call it page 4. Page 4 is where you keep it simple and you eat the real foods, and you have 2 cups of salad a day. Is it 1 cup of other green leafy or non-starchy vegetables? And then you limit fat. Tell us about that. Why do you limit fat?
Well, so cream, cheese, mayonnaise, oils, these are all limited because they're high in calories. So even though we don't count calories, we still have to be careful of that. And that's a common mistake I see.
I think that's one of the things my first year I had heard, oh, it's high fat, have all the fat you want, put as much butter on your steak as you want. And I think because I had come from such a huge calorie surplus, even doing what I did just by dropping carbs, I was okay for about the first 20 or 30 pounds. But then things started to slow down, and that's when I really started to pay more attention that while we don't count calories overall, calories will get you.
Yeah.
If you have 4,000 calories of butter a day.
Yeah.
So, good.
I just wanted to share, sorry.
No, go ahead.
That we have these Adapt events. Adapt Your Life is a product company that I'm involved in. They're selling some low carb, truly low carb
these
things.
are true low carb bars, and what you see is what you get.
Yeah,
they're really good.
But my business partner, Glenn Finkel, had this idea, why don't we do events all around the country so that people don't have to travel far, and so we have had Vancouver, Canada, Roxborough, North Carolina, which is near Durham, Houston, Texas,
that's
Washington,
last
D.C.,
year,
and then Dr. Berg's conference in Washington, D.C., and then Low Carb Kansas City.
Wow.
I was in front of 1,400 people at these different events in the last 6 weeks.
1,400 people sharing the story.
Well, and so the classic thing I do is I say, who's doing keto? Raise your hand. And then everyone no, keep them up. And I'll say, how many of you have been doing it more than 6 months? Keep your hand up. A year, 2 years. So the hands drop down between a year and 2 years. And then in one meeting, it was just me and Jackie Eberstein who had kept our hands up at 20 years.
That's amazing. So you got to actually train and go up and spend time with Dr. Atkins years ago. I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Well, right. And I asked him for money. And then,
that's good.
But the method I use is similar to that.
Because you wanted to do research.
Exactly. It had to be done.
It had to be done. It had to be done. So he's well published. Is it over 40 peer-reviewed studies now, or?
Depends how you count them. 46.
And that's a big thing. For those of you that are clinical, you'll understand the value of that, and those that you aren't won't. But it's important. It's important to have the data so that we can change how people in the medical community think about it. So when's your next Adapt Your Life coming up?
So the next Adapt Your Life events will be in February.
So enjoy the holidays,
yeah.
but stay on plan, page 4. And do you have your cities yet, or rough?
I think it's going to be a tour from Florida to Denver. A swath through Florida, Georgia, ending up with Low Carb Denver.
Low Carb. So how can they find it? Where can they go so they'll be ready when you announce the dates in the cities?
So you go to Adapt Your Life website, adaptyourlife.com, or I have a new YouTube channel, Adapt Your Life YouTube channel.
I've seen that.
So,
I'm acting surprised.
Yeah.
I've watched the video. So awesome.
Well, I started to do these interviews with patients, and I was shy to do it. I didn't really want to, break confidentiality and all that, but they're happy to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And the first one we did was with this woman in a wheelchair, and anyway, she was lovely. And so check out the YouTube channel.
Adapt Your Life. So any closing thoughts? Because everybody's breaking. It's going to get real noisy in here.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
You look great.
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great.
Just saw you in Kansas City.
I just saw you in Kansas City.
And that was fun.
That was fun. We had a really good time. Had a little small hiccup there, but I'm doing great.
Well, keep it up.
I will. You keep it up. So thanks, everybody, for joining us. This is Dr. Eric Westman from Duke University, and he has an obesity and lifestyle medicine clinic. And you take patients from around that area, from all over, so they can actually come in and see you.
Yeah, they can. Or at the Heal Clinics.
Oh, yes.
HealClinics.com.
Yeah, so go to HealClinics.com, which stands for Healthy Eating and Living, which I think is a great name, because what we put in our mouth can heal our body.
Absolutely.
All right, you guys have a good one. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Westman.
You so much.
Thanks. I'm going to give him a hug. Bye.